So this briefing is just going to be a short summary of the Cybersecurity and Business Continuity Report for the Charleston Hotel. I'm just going to cover some issues that we might have. I'm not trying to blame anyone or make our job harder, but we just need to identify some risks and practical steps to solve and reduce those risks uh, in a simple, easy, and realistic way. So these are going to be the 4 problems I want to address, and they're all related because they're just little habits that increase risk without even knowing. So the first thing is an open Wi-Fi network, which sounds convenient, but it's not worth it. That convenience, since it can introduce unauthorized users, like leaving a front door open to your house. Next is weaker shared passwords, making it easy for someone to access systems that we don't want them to have access to. And then next is USB devices that can introduce malware or viruses. And then last, if the website administration only having one person be a single point of failure. So first thing is the Wi-Fi. So we don't want to use the default passwords for our Wi-Fi because those are usually simple things that are actually public information and anyone can access what a default password is for a Wi-Fi. Uh, and next, we want to separate our guest Wi-Fi from our employee or business Wi-Fi, since we don't want guests able to access uh, system files or hotel guest information or payment items. Uh, so we basically separate a wall that's called network segmentation. And we want to basically put a wall between what guests can access and what employees can access. And as I mentioned, talking about passwords and default passwords, let's make sure we don't use default passwords for any of our systems that we have to log into. Because again, a guest or an unauthorized user can easily guess that. Don't use common words or phrases, birthdays, dates, things like that, or the hotel name. Make sure you use a complicated password that only you'll remember. Use password managers if you can, and make sure we're not sharing passwords because that compromises accountability. If, let's say, there's a bad actor that knows a password to another employee's login, they can just use that employee's login, and if they commit a bad act, it'll look like that other employee, and we won't know who actually committed the act. And then with USB devices, don't put any unknown USB devices because, like I mentioned before, there are bad actors. That could be a guest or even just someone from outside just coming into the lobby and intentionally placing a USB device somewhere, and a curious person places it, inserts it into their computer. And if that device has malware or viruses, it's now been in contact with the computer, and that malware can basically infect our entire network since all our computers are connected. And there's different types of viruses that can steal information or just ruin the system, things like that. So let's have a procedure to not just put USB devices into our computers, and let's do a lost and found, and we will develop a procedure, a professional that knows how to basically inspect that device and is trained to do that. And we will also develop a procedure for employee-owned devices, and we will release some policy on what authorized devices are allowed. And the final issue is a website dependency for our admin. We don't want that to be one person. We don't want one person to be a single point of failure, because if that one person's gone on vacation, sick, or they suddenly quit, or we have to terminate them suddenly for whatever reasons there may be, we want multiple people to be able to access the website. And of course, they'll have their own admin accounts that they'll do these other safe practices of passwords and accountability to keep separated, so we know who's accessing the site. Those admin credentials will be documented, so we know who owns what and who's doing what. And that's that for the website admin. And then the four things, like I said, the securing our Wi-Fi. We need to strengthen passwords and have good password practices. And we're going to develop some policy on USB devices and how to address that. And then having the website not having a single point of failure. And that is all I have to discuss.